Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pasch podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pasch.
Hi, this is Brian Pasch, and welcome to an exciting podcast interview. Today, I have Bobby Gaudreau. He is the VP of Sales and Marketing at Activator Dealer Solutions. We're going to be talking about their Activator platform, new advances in their architecture, their packaging, and they're able to deliver customized solutions for dealers who are looking to do more with their first-party data. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Great to be here again.
You know, there's been so many updates with your platform. I want to take it one step at a time. You reached out to me very early on when I started writing about CDPs, and you said, hey, Brian, Dominion's working on a really cool platform. You got to see it. And you were very honest with me, Bobby. You said, look, we are going to do it right. We want to make sure that dealers' first-party data is really carefully managed. We're not just rushing to market with the Me Too CDP. And what I've seen is a real intentional thought process of making sure that dirty data from the DMS and the, transactional data from the CRM is managed properly to get a unified record. For the dealers who are really looking for a good partner to organize their valuable customer data, what would you tell them that would give them confidence, like, hey, you should really check out what we're doing here because we've been at this for an awful long time?
Yeah, no, so I'm playing, a couple steps ahead. And this was a conversation that we actually had internally. And so, I came up in this industry selling CRM systems back, I started in, I think, 2006. So I like to say, I live in New England. I sold most dealers in New England their first CRM system, right? And so, but it went, back in those days, I spent the first year knocking on doors and dealers were like, what's CRM? Like no one had even heard of it. And then it was like one day, we're just getting phone calls saying, hey, and I worked for a company called Autobase at the time. So it's like, we're going to look at Autobase and we're going to look at Hire Gear and we're going to look at Reynolds and we're going to invite you in. And then we're going to make a decision on such and such date. And I think we're, probably 6 to 12 months away for that happening kind of in this CDP unified data platform in marketing automation space, right? It's going to be, we're going to look at the 3 or 4 companies and then we're going to make a decision. And so if I were in that bake off right now and someone said, what differentiates you from everyone else out there? If we go feature by feature, it's just like everything is changing so fast, right? And like what I was talking to you about on the last webinar a couple months ago has evolved tremendously to where we are today. And it's exciting and scary at the same time. But I think if I hone in on one thing, it's been our approach from the strategic and tactical area. And we've kind of built our marketing automation and our customer data platform from the inside out, as opposed from the outside in. And what I mean by that, Brian, is we started what we knew well, which was on the DMS. And we really focused on how can we understand whether a dealer has 30,000 records or 1 million records. How can we go in there and really make sense of that data and learn about what's good and learn about what's bad so we can organize that and manage that in a meaningful way so that when it makes its way into any kind of marketing campaign, whether that's a one-off push or that's going to be a multi-touch campaign, we've got the cleanest record possible for that customer engagement. And then it also links back for proper reporting. And then, Bobby, that just stands out.
Yeah, I mean, that's so key because some of the CDP platforms today really haven't been transparent on what they're doing for data hygiene. Mm-hmm. Some say, oh, well, we use our magical data hygiene box and, we do this. And I think dealers, just like your example with the CRMs, they didn't know what questions to ask at the beginning. Today, dealers know how to evaluate a new CRM platform. They don't know with CDPs. And I would say one of the things that is so critical before you load up your CDP with your DMS and CRM data, let's say like loading up your base foundation, you should know that probably 40% of those vehicle transactions are no longer owned by those customers. 40 to 50% of your DMS records may be missing a cell phone, right? Because historically, people were afraid to ask for, a mobile number, today, not so much. And so when you think about the consolidation of customer data over a 7 or 10-year period, there's a lot of transactions with wacky data, with different phone numbers and different email addresses, and people move and people sell cars. All of this has to be carefully done. And all I can tell you from the projects that I'm working on, that's the hardest piece at the beginning of the project, going through the different logic. And Bobby, you were saying this is actually something that your team has taken very seriously, and making sure that the decisions that are being made when there's conflicts, and there's always conflicts, or there's gaps, are done thoughtfully. And I think that is absolutely a strength of what you're doing compared to some of the other solutions in the market.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've got this working thesis, right, that we've been on for a while, and it's just as we go further and further, we validate a lot of things, but then we kind of peel back another layer and like, oh man, here's another issue. But we're seeing these as a lot of opportunities, and as we continue to move down that branch, we're learning a lot. And I would, kind of the technical or the official way I would say it is DMS data. And I don't mean to be negative about this, but it's mismanaged and it's not governed, right? Like accounting follows GAAP accounting. And,
right.
I run a sales team too. And, we've got KPIs and we have a sales process to know that we're on track. And, we talk to OEMs all the time, and these are the KPIs by which they're being measured. But when there's like data, forever, we've always said, oh yeah, the data stinks and we're going to try to fix it. And I think what we want to move to is to try to be able to set some benchmarks for a dealer to say, here's what you should be striving for, right? So as opposed to, just talking about that it stinks, but like, here's where you are, and here's where we want to get you, and here's how you're going to get, and here's how you're going to get there. And I'll kind of walk through the use case on how we're managing that today with the DMS. And then that's going to allow us to go really quickly and efficiently when we start to apply this towards CRM data. But so for the DMS, so for years, we've been doing, one of our, legacy products was a company called Deal Activator, which was one of the first equity mining tools. So I would put us up against anyone on our ability to integrate in with the DMS and pull that information out into segments. So we've been doing that for years. That's not interesting. But what we're finding now is when we take that out and we create a list out of, say, for an equity campaign, about only 60 to 65%, and it doesn't matter what part of the country, it doesn't matter what OEM it is, it doesn't matter the 30,000 or a million records, the percentages are almost spot on. 60 to 65% of those people can be contacted because they have an email address or they have a phone number. So that means 35 to 40% of the people you want to reach, you literally can't reach them, right?
I can validate those numbers, Bobby. That's right in line with what I'm seeing.
Yeah. But then it gets worse though, Brian, because then it's just like there's some false positives in there because we say, oh, well, here's the email address. But then we work with a company called @Data, which is integrated right in with our platform, which we've built in Salesforce.com. So I don't think in our old homegrown system, we wouldn't have been able to do this as efficiently or maybe even at all, right? And so we bump that up against @Data, and then @Data is designed to find what I call the invisible needles in a haystack, right? They're finding the spam trap addresses and they're finding the invalid email addresses. So I use as an example, and someone actually emailed me the other day. I have my first email address I opened was rgaudreau74@Yahoo. It's still out there. Someone tried to email, it got bounced back. So @Data would pick that up if Boston Volvo Village probably might have that in their database still, and they try to email that to me.
Right. That's so important, Bobby, because one of the things that I've spoken about as I've been touring, talking about CDPs. Dealers have been emailing their customers for years, but they've never gotten any reports. What was undeliverable? What emails were potentially dangerous? You mentioned spam traps or just known hot email addresses where you should never be sending things to. And, when I tell that to dealers, they scratch their head. Yeah, I mean, I just pay somebody to do my monthly newsletter. I have no idea. Is there any process to get a new email address when one bounces? And I'm saying, no, that's the whole thing. You don't have a place that can be updated. It wasn't the job of the CRM or the DMS to be in data management, data hygiene. And so you're absolutely right. When dealers realize that they're lucky if they could contact half of their DMS with both email and phone reliably, and like as I mentioned, about 40% of the people that you think still own the car don't. So there's a lot of waste, inherent waste in the system, and that's why I'm saying that dealers really will need 3 operating platforms for their business: the DMS, the CRM, and the CDP.
100%.
Bobby, when a dealer signs up for Activator and your data layer, the data hygiene is done, you have unified the historical records. Now dealers want to activate against that, right? So the data is clean, inherent waste is removed, deliverability is improved, and now they may want to run sales campaigns or service campaigns, or more specific, an equity campaign or a win-back campaign. Today, out of the box, what outbound activation is available, and what channels? Is it email, direct mail, is it Facebook, Google? Just at a high level for sales and service, what type of customer journeys are kind of ready out of the box for dealers to leverage with the cleaned up data?
Yeah, so we hit the full gamut, and this was kind of a part of our strategy from the beginning to just have, from the inside out, right? Is just have like this really consistent foundation and baseline. So at the tip of the spear, our flagship product that we offer today is, we call it Activator Pro, and so that's comprised of a set of customer journeys for service and a set of customer journeys for sales. And so there's a total of, kind of 5 journeys that are running across that. And the idea there is to cast a wide and very deliberate net over a dealer's entire customer database on their DMS, and to be able to pull in people regardless of where they might be in their, pun intended, journey, so that we're using the right logic to pull them in. And so that's just that constant drumbeat that's going behind the scenes. It's a journey in the traditional sense. No one has to do anything. People basically have the logic that they qualify in or out of that journey. And I think it's important to distinguish too. We used to have, a marketing system that was homegrown, that was more of a linear system, and it had multiple touch points, and it did this. What we're talking about now is a true marketing automation system that we customize for dealers and OEMs using Salesforce.com. So we spent considerable time and expense to us
and money.
Built that marketing cloud.
This is going out of the Salesforce Marketing Cloud.
That's correct. Yeah.
So we're talking about a world-class infrastructure. I know some dealer groups, some, let's just say, risk takers who've built infrastructure around Salesforce, right? Salesforce CRM and other Salesforce tools. Not many dealers have done that, but enterprise thinking dealer groups are starting to look at that. So you're talking about building on a really cutting edge platform, leading platform, Salesforce data and marketing cloud. Okay. But customized for automotive. That means that the creative that's going out, direct mail and email, for example, would all be OEM compliant for sales and service.
Oh yeah. So, and I mean, that's such an important point. And so to finish the question you asked me before, and so we're delivering right now on email, SMS, and direct mail, today. And then we have some clients right now that we have in various forms of beta tests where we're going to be expanding out to doing digital marketing and advertising through a partner called Fluency. And then we're also starting some beta tests on website monitoring and tracking. So we're kind of going into that active market network or active shopper network where historically we've been, we've been very focused on, we've been very focused kind of on that passive,
on the transactional, CRM. So for the dealers who are listening, let me just kind of clarify in a little different way. Right now, Activator is focusing on true first-party data in a traditional sense, is what's in the CRM and what's in the DMS, and doing email, direct mail, and texting. That's where they are today. For digital marketing, say Google or Facebook, display or OTT, they are partnering with Fluency as an activation partner. And if you don't know this, the team at Fluency, a lot of them were former dealer.com founders. They're really smart folks. Eric Mayhew is also part of that team, and a really brilliant guy who had built the total control dominator for dealer.com, which was really a breakthrough in marketing automation at that time. And then the other piece is recognizing customers when they're back on the dealer's website, or de-anonymizing shoppers who are coming. That's something on the roadmap. And that, Bobby, is where dealers get very excited, because they know that only 1% to 2% of all visitors submit a lead form, maybe 4 to 10% call. So the majority of the people who come to dealer's website are anonymous, but with identity resolution tied to a CDP, we can let dealers know when their existing customers are back shopping. And through identity resolution, even identify shoppers who are on the website that may not be in the CDP, but you could send them a direct mail piece, right? Or send them an email. This is doing more with the website than ever before. Do you see it that way, giving dealers more opportunities to generate sales opportunities?
Totally. And I want to also, I'm going to come back to on your OEM compliance, because that's an important point too. But yeah, so with what we're doing with Fluency right now is we're focused on one use case. So we really nail this down where we're focused on conquest service campaigns. And then eventually there's, that's the first use case. There's probably, 10 to 15 other use cases that are going to be lined up behind that. And then we are working with 2 or 3 of our existing customers in a beta ecosystem right now on that website monitoring. So now as we start to identify, so now a customer hits the website and now we say, okay, is that person, do we already have a record for them? And are they in one of the journeys that we're running right now? If yes, then we have an ability to then potentially influence that journey in ways that we wouldn't have been able to do in our old system. But now we have so much flexibility with Salesforce on that, right? And then the next one is, does this person exist or not? Like you said, most of them aren't, and they're all anonymous. So do we have a record? And now we have the ability to now create a record for that person in the CDP, and then start to apply best practices to engage that person. And then if I can go back too, because I don't think that this can be understated enough, is one of the very first things that we did when we were building out our initial prototype, and we had to prove to our investors that we could actually build something and it could work before we kind of got the funding. I'm going back 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
What we built in terms of the flowing down the information on email campaigns and being able to do that OEM compliance, like that is hard work, right? And when you're now dealing with all these new channels coming in there and flowing in there, I think we had such a head start because of what we did for our years with auto revenue and what we did with our years with Deal Activator. And now we're going so much faster, and we recently rebuilt all of that using a company called Stencil. So if people want to Google that, it's STNSUL, so Stencil. And they are a best-in-class, enterprise-capable email template builder, landing page builder that's designed to work in the Salesforce ecosystem. And so here's where we're really starting to get our opportunity cost of spending all this time, money, and effort over the last couple of years, because now we plug in Stencil, and the what we can now do on behalf of our dealers, and the quality of the content that we're going to be able to do, and how much easier it is for our marketers on behalf of our dealers is phenomenal. So
yeah, and people who have started a CDP project and have done the data hygiene and understand that every customer now has a digital, ID. One of the goals, I guess the holy grail, you want to say it, is I need to get all my historic customers to click on an email, open an email, or engage in some way, or fill out a form, to kind of solidify, right, and stitch that first party data and make it a zero party confirmed. And this is super important. So partnering with the Salesforce Marketing Cloud and their ability to deliver emails, having great email templates that are deliverable, right, that are avoiding some of these trigger words that just spam trap people, and then avoiding blacklisting your marketing campaigns by doing better hygiene. It all ties together.
Sure does.
And we're still in the infancy, as you mentioned, because there's not a lot of data that shows the value engineering, right? So I made this $100,000 investment, and what did I get in return? Or I made $1 million investment as a large group. What did we get back? And next year, 2025, I think that's going to be the year we're going to see it. But dealers shouldn't wait, because there's a clear, immediate savings, and I mean that, savings through getting your data clean and updated. And there's a clear operational efficiency when you're marketing, communicating with clear, clean data. So
yeah,
even though we don't know all is it a 3x investment or a 7x investment, return on investment, it's definitely the next step in automotive retail tech.
No, it's totally right. And I mean, earlier, when I kind of gave you my example of, what makes us different, right? And it's, we could go feature by feature by feature, and, I'll go head to head against anybody on that. But I think at the bottom line, what's never going to change is just our general approach, which was to start from the inside out. And it is that data, and there's no one way to do it. So, there is like the national change of address, email appends, those things, like they're never going to go away. But I think if a dealer out there thinks like, oh, I do that, and I do that a couple times a year and I'm all set, you're not, right? And I mean, what we're starting to build and perfect is what we're calling is a data management layer. And and again, leveraging the power that we have with Salesforce, and the data management layer kind of really falls 3 steps that are running continuously 24 hours a day, eventually 24 hours a day and 365 days a year. And so step 1 is we go into a dealer's database, a DMS, for example, and we say, I want to identify all of the potential records for Brian Pasch. And, there might be Brian Pasch, there might be, Pasch might be spelled a couple different ways, right? Sure. There might be John Pasch, right? There might be B, whatever it happens to be. We wrote an algorithm that we can go into that database and essentially identify and then pull all those and group that together. Then we take that and then we put it into a new database, which is designed to handle structured and semi-structured data. So we use a database called Snowflake, right? Which I'm sure that there's some big mega groups that are using Snowflake for some things for marketing and other areas. So now Snowflake works its magic. And now what we do is what we're calling it is persistent groups. So we could have it all cleaned up and perfect today, but tomorrow or next week or next year, another record might come into the system. And how do you know, right? And so we're now using art and a lot of science to be able to manage that in a persistent basis. And then once we have that, so we made the deliberate decision, we're not going to merge records, we're not going to delete records, because there might be a record that has all of the service history in it that we need to know, right? And then there might be another record that has a bunch of other information, including the best contact information.
Right,
So the
or just one service because they put in Brain Pasch instead of Brian, which is a very
that probably never happens, right?
yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, and dealers need to understand, they need to ask their data management vendors to describe what they're doing with data hygiene. And you know, I would say that if the company doesn't have a clear process map that they could show you, I'd be wary, because at the end of the day, I believe that there's a few that load up the data as is and start marketing with some, you know, they'll do a national change of address, and they may do a data append, but they're not really doing the right unification, right? Because they just haven't built the logic yet, and they haven't used third-party sources that have, well, higher credibility than the dealer's own DMS data. So, Bobby, I'm really glad that you guys are laser focused on this, because what dealers need to know is, do I have a solid platform that will stand the test of time? Because new marketing activations will come out, new channels, new thinking. The real question is, can they grow with the platform? Or is the platform kind of a box that is pre-fixed and I may outgrow it? So the fact that it's built on sales
with a very narrow ceiling.
yeah. Bobby, the team from Activator are coming to the Modern Retailing Conference because you're part of this change management movement to elevate the customer experience, eliminate waste, make customers feel more valued, increase the lifetime value of each customer. And so I want to encourage the dealers who are tired of this type of waste, tired of sending mail to people who no longer own their cars, tired of missing 40 to 50% of their customers in Facebook or Google matches, tired of not being able to know when your customers are back in market. I really want you to start shopping. As Bobby mentioned, get a demo of Activator, ask the tough questions, but ask those same tough questions with everyone. So when you come to the Modern Retailing Conference, then you can have some additional context, listen to the conversations, listen to the data studies that I'll be sharing, and then sit down with Bobby and the team and really go through your use cases. This is not a quick decision, but you shouldn't also overthink it. I know some people are like, oh, I'm going to wait 1 or 2 years. I'm like, dude, that's like saying I can do without a CRM for 1 or 2 years. It's that critical. Bobby, if you had to give one word of encouragement for dealers who are on the fence, you know, is this CDP thing real, or should I be investing? Is it now? Is it too early? What would you say to them?
No, I absolutely not, because right now, unless you tell me you're not doing any marketing at all, then I would say there's a whole nother subset of problems that we can talk about, right? But if you are doing marketing right now of any kind, right, and you don't have an ability, like you said before, Brian, like to really understand the current health and status of your data on an ongoing basis, you're likely every day playing Russian roulette, right? So I mean, you know, I think, and there's two challenges, right? So one challenge that you're facing is the whole goal of marketing, right? For B2B to C marketing, right, is to tell a consumer that you know something about them, right? And they're known, and being able to do an effective job. So if you're emailing somebody multiple times because you've pulled 5 of the Brian Pasch's into a marketing campaign, you're telling them, I don't know anything about you, right? And you're likely going to upset them, right? So everyone already now has 10 other examples that they can think. But the other area is just the monetary damage that you could be doing to your brand and your dealership. And so I'm not going to name names here, but we have a dealer that's a customer of ours. They're using other systems. They're getting sued right now for a customer that kept on getting emailed. And this woman got emailed in the middle of the night after she had repeatedly asked them to stop, and is now suing this particular company, right? that turns into a class action lawsuit. you got a serious problem on your hands, right?
That's
And
right.
so, we're kind of helping them, untangle that ball of yarn on being able to say, here are the different records that you have in the system that this company was probably pulling out in marketing to. So the duplicate records, the invalid email addresses, the spam traps exist independent of whoever's doing the marketing. And you have to have a way to be able to identify and manage those things before you push it out, whether it's you're doing it through your Gmail account or you're using a sophisticated system like ours. There's got to be that barrier before it goes out.
Amen and amen. Bobby, if somebody wanted to book a demo of Activator, is the website activator.ai?
It is, yeah, yep.
Right.
And there's
Super
great
easy.
content on there.
Right.
And almost anywhere you go, there's going to be links to click to schedule a demo or to reach out to us. Or you can reach out to me directly, which is either Bobby or Robert.Gaudreau at Activator AI.
Right. Well, listen, for all the dealers who have been leaning in, as Bobby mentioned, at one time, people didn't know what a CRM was or thought it was important. They were using Outlook or AOL Mail or Yahoo Mail to manage leads and websites. And now we wouldn't run a business without it. Once you understand the marketing lift, I mean, one of our customers was getting a Facebook and Google customer match rate around 35 to 40% and went up to 70, 75%. Think about that. Just clean data. And I want to encourage you to start doing your homework. Go to activator.ai, get a demo, ask questions, but more importantly, get registered for the Modern Retailing Conference. It's November 17th, 18th, and 19th in beautiful Palm Beach, Florida at the O Hotel. The event sells out every year, so book your hotel now. Get your tickets now. Here's the reason why. The future of automotive retailing is always exciting, but it is changing. And the tools that were being used 2 years ago, in many respects, are being replaced with AI-driven, data-driven tools. I just heard a story of a dealer group that had over 20 BDCs and collapsed them all, shut them all down because they're using AI tools to follow up with leads and to help the sales professionals do a better job of one-to-one communication. That's a big shift, but it's coming because of the breakthroughs. AI works great when it has a great data set. And I think in 2025, 2026, we're going to see even the next level of AI engagement when they're tapping into the CDP, not into the DMS, right? Because any AI tool that's working out of the CRM or the DMS is a limited or dirty or inaccurate or a partial view of the customer. Things are going to get crazy when CDPs also start driving better AI communication. That's why I'm encouraging all dealers to come out to the Modern Retailing Conference. The Activator team will be there, and a number of other companies in this growing space of customer data platforms, but educate yourself. Bobby, I want to thank you for your time today and your vision to provide dealers with a tool set that's going to make a big difference in their retail operations. And I want to thank everyone who's watching. If this is the first time you've listened to one of my podcasts, you should know that there are dozens of interviews coming up, all on the road to Modern Retailing Conference. Hundreds of conversations over the years, but this new series is all the companies that are going to be at the Modern Retailing Conference. So just search for the Brian Pasch podcast and listen to all of our leaders, our entrepreneurs, the people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and, push for change to give customers a better experience in retail and to help the dealers be more profitable. That's what Bobby and I want to do. We want customers to be happier and dealers to be more profitable. So come on out to the MRC. Bobby, you looking forward to beautiful weather and a beautiful hotel in November?
Yeah, no, that's the secret. I live actually a little south of where the Fluency guys are and up northern Vermont. So I'm looking forward to coming out there and getting some warm weather in November. So
okay, great. Well, thanks, Bobby. Thanks everyone for listening in. Until next time, have a great day. And don't forget to listen to the entire podcast series leading up to the Modern Retailing Conference. Have a good day and thanks for listening.